tough question, and then we'll end with some highlights. Starting with Martin County, it's been big in the news. Ag use and rural zoning has always been at the core of each county within the Treasure Coast. New developments and big dollars are having leaders rethink those protections. What is the plan to ensure the ongoing rural zoning for future generations?
So I'm going to have to respectfully pass on this question because I only work in the CRAs. So as far as what's happening in ag, I mean, I can kind of tell you a little bit, but it would not be very good information for all of you because I'm not doing any zoning in those areas. That's Western Martin County. And as you can see from my little map, I'm only the little tiny urban-ish centers. So sorry. I can put you in touch with people who can tell you about that, but that is not me.
And to that point, we'll get that contact information, and all of that will be delivered out in a follow-up email for our guests here today. St. Lucie County. I promise I gave them these questions in advance.
They did.
I did. I'm a good girl.
And this actually is a large part of my life, which is why I sigh. But I appreciate Susan's refusal to write fiction in front of you. So, as you all know, the pressure, not only from outside of Florida to develop in Florida, but particularly from South Florida to develop on the Treasure Coast is incredible. And what we're seeing is that we have a lot of property that's available and ready to go for industrial development. But increasingly, we're finding people don't want to pay the dollars for property that is already zoned and has the entitlements that they want. They want to buy cheap land out west and do what they want on it. So that's triggered a couple of things for us. One, using American Recovery Act funds to extend our utility infrastructure. That has resulted in us running our St. Lucie County utility lines all the way up US 1 to the North County border. Where I hope you'll connect to. And then planned connection all the way through South County to the Port St. Lucie line, where the Port St. Lucie utility infrastructure picks up. The reason I bring that up is that allowed us to expand our urban service boundary. And our urban service boundary is really pivotal to where you are able to do certain kinds of development and what kinds of requirements there are for you to develop, whether you're inside the urban service boundary or outside it. So we did recently expand it down in the south part of the county. We do have 2 planning areas in the northern part of the county. The reason that's important for agricultural land is that it allows us to better protect agricultural lands as well. So not only does it put a framework in for where the development happens inside the urban service boundary, it puts very clear guidelines about what can and cannot happen outside. And that does do a lot to protect our agricultural land. Obviously, there have been huge changes in agriculture in the county. We do find that our agricultural property owners are looking for ways that they can use their land in a profitable way, particularly if they were in the citrus industry, and that we're seeing that changes happen. We are seeing that residential development happen on those lands as well. But having that urban service boundary in place, having a strong land development code, and having plans examiners and plan reviewers really look closely at what projects are proposed and what is allowed is really the best tool that we have to protect those lands.
Well said. All right, Indian River County, WTTB, where the tropics begin. We got it for a reason, yet it's changing. Share your insights, please, Andy.
You're right, it is changing quite a bit. So we also have an urban service boundary, and if anyone's familiar with 58th Avenue and 66th Avenue, which run north and south through the county, that's essentially the urban service boundary. If you go west of there, all the way to the western county line, there's no water, there's no sewer, and you can't develop at more than 1 unit per 5 acres. So those are our ag lands and our conservation lands. I just hired a consultant to study the urban service boundary, just started that process within the last couple days, to see if we should move the line. And this has been a big question for years. And the important part about it is once you move that line, Now you get subdivisions and commercial development behind it. Since we established our line in 1990, we've moved it one time, just a tiny little bit. Okay, so we've been pretty tight about doing that, but I think it's time to look at that. The other thing we're doing is starting to liberalize our permitted uses in agricultural zoning areas to try to help people keep that ag land ag and not convert it to subdivisions and other uses. So things like, really low impact commercial uses, assembly, artisan trades, crafts, things like that, allowing people to do those uses on their ag and keep it ag and not lose it to a subdivision or some other type of development.
Makes good sense. All right, so now